Away we go. What is up, Shadow Zone fans? This is your ghost host, your Shadow Zone host with the most, Brian James. With me always, Mr. Eldon McInville. Dude, happy Friday.
No, happy Friday, bro.
Bro, happy Friday to all of you as well. We have a great podcast tonight. Eldon, fire away, brother.
Hey, we got this fella. He's been on a couple times before. I'm sure that most everybody here knows him. Good guy, and he talks a lot about, what he does and how he does it. And the thing that I'd like to know about tonight specifically is where he dives into helping the homeless and getting them fed. We've heard about the paranormal side of this fella and a lot of what he does there, but I'd really kind of like to dive into that. So, Brian, why don't we introduce our guest?
By all means, you bring him on. I'll introduce him. Sound good to you?
Sounds good. Here he comes.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Mr. Robert Righi.
Good evening. Thanks, guys. Hey, Brian. Hey, Eldon. Thank you so much.
Hey, how you doing, Robert?
Wonderful. I kind of had a rough day yesterday, but I feel better about things today. I do. I feel a lot better. So, but anyhow, thank you for having me on. And you know what? That the paranormal is just part of my life. It's not my entire life. Everyone has to have a balance. Everyone has to have a balance in doing other things with, besides the paranormal. So I volunteer. I started volunteering, many, many moons ago. I'm 67 years old, for God's sake. You know what I mean? So I started volunteering a long, long time ago. And that's been happening since I was little, volunteering. I went to a Catholic school, and the nuns always told us that we need to volunteer, help those who are in need. And so that's just part of my spirituality, because I believe that we're all brothers and sisters in the universe. It doesn't matter what faith we are. It doesn't matter at all. Just the fact that we're all brothers and sisters. And many years ago, I went to the Appalachian Mountains. and that was through the Knights of Columbus, which is a Catholic organization, and they had contacted me, and I was out west, and they asked me if I would go to the Appalachian Mountains of eastern Kentucky and western Virginia, because there was a priest out there that 50 years of his priesthood was helping the poor in that area and such. And it's one of the poorest areas in the country. And so why not? I believe that God opens doors for us. And for me personally, that I said yes immediately. And so I came back from out west, and then I came back here to Illinois, which I'm here right now. And they provided transportation, and it took like 10 hours to get there. Got there early in the morning, and it was such a beautiful area. Oh my. It was way out in the holler, as they say, right? And it was between Inez and Beauty, Kentucky. I had never seen such. I mean, I've been to the mountains, out west and everything, and like northern New Mexico, also in Arizona, or go to the White Mountains and such, like Sholo and Snowflake and those areas, right? And I've been to Utah. I've been all over the West, but just going to that part of eastern Kentucky and western West Virginia, it was just beautiful to me. And where my house was at that time, it was right on the Cumberland River that separated the states of Kentucky and West Virginia. And then Father said, "Don't get too comfortable, because you're going to go 60 miles into the holler, and that's where we need you to be." I said, "Okay, go." So I'm up for the adventure, and so I did. And here I was. The closest highway was about 50 miles away, an interstate or so. So I found myself in this little hamlet, running this soup kitchen and a shelter, not shelter, but soup kitchen and food pantry by myself. Okay, and so I did that. And the mountain people, the Appalachian people, are beautiful people. I don't know if you guys have ever been to the Appalachian Mountains or not. And it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful, And so I got to meet all these wonderful people. And one thing about the mountain people, that when they give you something, you accept it. Okay, they came to us for food and blankets and pillows and whatever they needed, right? But it's just the fact that when they gave something to me, I at first I didn't accept it, because these people have nothing. They have nothing, right? And so I didn't think that was appropriate for me to take, like honey that they made, or the ladies made hand sewn things, stitched things and such. So I learned right away that I needed to accept these things basically, and I did.
So what do you normally make at these soup kitchens? You were talking about cooking and being part of these soup kitchens. So what do you normally make in these soup kitchens?
Okay, well, like to a couple of days, being Italian and Spanish, I'd love to make cannoli. So Eldon, I think I sent you a picture of what I made of this wonderful spinach and cheese cannolis. And here in Peoria, we're just by the grace of God, that Southside Mission, where I'm volunteering at, they have a lot of food from different, like Costco and places like that. And so my Italian grandmother always said that when you make food, you make it with love. And when you make it with love, it even tastes better. Okay. And so being in the Appalachian Mountains, yes, I cooked different things, and the people came. They were very nice. At first they're very, very standoffish. And I understand that in the Appalachian Mountains, because our poor brothers and sisters were used by the government, by the state of Kentucky, as well as from the U.S. government. These people were so illiterate 100 years ago or so that they signed away their mineral rights to their land. They got to keep the land. They thought they were going to make a lot of money from it, but what they signed was crooked as hell. Okay.
you said that you've been to the White Mountain Range of Arizona, up near Show and stuff. That's up there predominantly on a reservation land up in that area.
Right.
Have you worked with other reservations before or anything like that for feeding the needy and all that?
Yes, I have.
Now, where have you functioned on that?
Okay, 20 years ago, the Catholic Social Services of Pine Ridge, South Dakota, had reached out to me and asked me if I would come to Pine Ridge and help start a mental health clinic. And as you folks know, that I have a master's degree in forensic psychology and clinical social work. And so I went there, and I'm licensed. Like now, I'm licensed in 12 different states. I got licensed for the state of South Dakota. And so we began a mental health clinic, started a food pantry, started a homeless shelter, as well as a soup kitchen. And so Catholic Charities had all these people, some Knights of Columbus from California, from all over the world, would come at different times. We also had kids from different Catholic colleges and universities come there also. And it was just wonderful being in Pine Ridge. Pine Ridge is about 2 hours from Wounded Knee, if you know where Wounded Knee is located.
Well,
Okay.
it's strange that you would talk about the Pine Ridge Reservation because I've got a lot of friends there. I used to live in Rapid City, just north of there, up on Highway 79. I know exactly where it's at. I know a lot of folks in Pine Ridge. I used to deliver to Pine Ridge as a truck driver, bringing in commodities and such. So I know exactly where Pine Ridge is. Plus, I know a lot of those folks on that reservation.
And so there was like Ogallala Sioux, Lakota Sioux, and it was just a wonderful experience. It really, really was. I learned so much. I learned about skinwalkers. I learned more about Sasquatch. I learned about so many different things.
Mm-hmm.
And I love
now you know that the skinwalker belief is predominantly the Navajo, right?
Yes, I do. Yes. But even within the Lakota Sioux, they talked about that. Not as much as what Navajos do.
Right.
Navajos talk about that all the time. And so just be with our brothers and sisters in Pine Ridge was just a wonderful experience. So I am going back there. I have some health issues. That's one of the reasons why I'm back here in Illinois. And anyhow, after 20 some years, they have invited me to come back to Pine Ridge.
Man, it seems like you got a lot of places to be. You've got this thing that is in Illinois that you got to be there for their what is it? They're trying to pass legislation there. You got to be for that. Coming back this way, you're trying to get up to Pine Ridge. Man, you got a lot of places you got to be kind of at once, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Like in the fall, like Eldon, that we have talked about, that the state of Illinois, the Speaker of the House, Chris Welch, has sent me a letter a month ago or so asking me if I would come there and speak to the joint sessions on a committee about the paranormal. Because the state of Illinois, they want to begin to regulate teams, psychic mediums, and those types of.
I think that something like that is definitely going to affect the individuals in the paranormal field directly. This isn't something that's an indirect effect. I think, sharing that documentation and such with the paranormal community, like, you're more than welcome to bring that on here. We can share it out, that documentation for the legislation in Illinois to kind of show where that's at. I'd love to see that, and I know that our viewers would probably love to see where it sits with that because, it's like I've said before, to pass something like that in legislation, it's going to meet a lot of resistance with the scientific field. The bottom line is the scientific field doesn't want to recognize the paranormal field, and they're going to fight that. And the minute they legislate that and they regulate it, they're going to have no choice but to recognize the paranormal field at that point.
Right.
So I would really like to see the documentation on that. As well as I'm sure the viewers would love to see it. So if you can, grab that together and share it, I think we all love to see it and know where that's going, because I think we all not only want to know what's going on, but I believe that those of us that's in this legitimately should have a voice in what's going on.
Absolutely.
And what I'm going to be doing in my opening statement is to talk is to talk about the little teams, the teams that don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of, right? I'm going to advocate for the smaller teams who have the passion. The smaller teams, there's thousands of smaller teams out there, my brothers and sisters, that truly have the passion, but they don't have the money like bigger teams to get a lot of equipment.
We need to advocate for paranormal field legitimacy is what we need to advocate for. Because whether you're small, whether you're large, it makes no difference. The bottom line is we have to advocate for paranormal field legitimacy. You can be a larger organization and be doing things the right way and have the right frame of mind to helping people. You know, that doesn't make them any less important than a little guy and vice versa. Right. But we really need to advocate for paranormal field legitimacy, and I think that's the most important.
Okay. And so that's a good idea. Thank you for bringing that up to me. And so, like I said, it's going to be like 35 minutes of me talking about just my opening statement. And then, of course, to the questions from the panel and everything. And then the second day, a parapsychologist and another psychologist is going to be there. I'll be sitting behind them. And then the third day in the morning, it's going to be families within the state of Illinois that have had horrible, horrible experiences with certain teams, with many teams within the state of Illinois. And that's what this is all about. That some of the teams have gone in there, caused damage, have stolen, all sorts of things. The families have documentation, they have videos, they have police reports. And so eventually it did get to the state representative, you know?
Well, and it's like we've talked before, Robert, on this subject. We have a law out there against false reporting because false reports happen. It would take me nothing to get a group of friends in my house and record them taking stuff out. You can fabricate evidence all day long. And, our fanatics out there that are against the paranormal field will go to no lengths. And this has been proven time and time again to prove how illegitimate we are. And it sounds to me that, in my experience in the paranormal field, we don't have a whole lot of this crap going on where people are getting stolen from, especially in private residences. That is not a wide problem like people would fabricate to, for people to believe. And, I just really have a hard spot with that. And I've got a problem with that in Illinois. And I'm quite sure that some of that's been fabricated. I'm sure you agree with that as well.
And I'm sure there's going to be a percentage that is fabricated. And I believe that. Do I believe that some teams go in there and do some outrageous things? I do. So I believe that happens too, The bottom line to all this, my brothers and sisters, is that the state of Illinois is broke. The state of Illinois is the most corrupt state that always has been.
Wait a minute. Hold on, Rob. You're telling me Illinois is broke. Do you know that besides LA County and Orange County in California, they've got one of the richest blood counties in the nation, and that is Cook County, Illinois?
Right. It is.
I mean, to buy a gallon of milk in Cook County is 3 to 4 times the cost that it is here.
It is. Yes. But there's so much corruption within the state of Illinois. 9 out of 10 governors end up in prison here in the state of Illinois. It goes way for 20, 30, 40, 50 years and such like that, right? Mm-hmm. So the bottom line to all this is that the state wants to regulate, the state wants to license certain, all teams, okay? They want the money. That's all they're looking for. That's all they're looking for is money. It is.
Within this magnitude of size, is this going to be something people can watch on TV or... Because, you're talking about this could possibly affect millions of paranormal investigators.
It will.
It will. Like this be televised that people can watch, or do you not know yet?
I think that the Illinois C-SPAN is going to be going live from Springfield. Okay. I think so, because sometimes they do. And what it's going to affect, just not the state of Illinois, but every surrounding state. The minute that Illinois begins to regulate and to license or want to license teams, the other states will follow suit. They will follow suit. Also, the state of Illinois is hard, and just like if we went hunting in another state, we have to get a license, right? That's what they're going to be doing here. That another group from another state wants to come in here and go to a place, residential and or go to asylum, old prisons, like Joliet State Prison is open now for tours and such like that, right? And a lot of places, Ashmore States is another one, okay? Those places that have, the state hospitals, like, different places, prisons, they're going to be charged $10,000 just to operate. And to get a license to come within the state of Illinois to investigate at these places, it's going to be quite hefty.
So my question is with them wanting to regulate paranormal investigators, don't you think the more money would be made doing that with doctors and scientists and everybody else instead of worrying about the paranormal?
They want to tax anybody. Really, they do in this state. You know what I mean? And so why not tap into something that nobody's ever tapped into before? But again, if Illinois goes through this, and I think they're going to, because they would not spend the time in doing what they're doing, right? You will see other states, Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin, Iowa, Missouri, Kentucky, they're going to follow suit also. They will in time. They will. One of the, they gave me 10 questions. The Speaker of the House sent me 10 questions for me just to not answer, but to give my opinion. One of them is about how do we regulate ourselves? How do we do that? How do we regulate? Is there one person within the state of Illinois or a group that regulates us as paranormal investigators, as psychic mediums, empaths, intuitives? Is there one particular person or a group that oversees everyone? And the answer is no. The answer is no, there isn't. Their thinking is that they have one body, one entity that will overlook or regulate that things would be better. I don't agree with them. I don't at all. I don't. In first place, I think our government is so intrusive as it is now. You know what I mean? The government can stay out of what we're doing. So we'll just have to see where that goes. I know that I have asked, just not for the state of Illinois, but other people to write letters, like to me, and so to talk about the paranormal and how that would affect them.
So where can I go? Where can I go to read about all this at, Robert? Because I'll give you an example. Like I just researched a little bit here on some of that topic you're discussing, and I know Illinois, they put out a docket as to what their topics of discussion is going to be in legislation out about approximately 8 to 9 months. And I can tell you that, and I'll share this with you, and I'll share it with our viewers. The only thing I've gotten coming up in Illinois legislation I'm showing, so maybe I'm going to the wrong place. Let me show you what I'm finding, and maybe you can kind of, piggyback on that. But this here is what I'm seeing for Illinois lawmakers to vote on. They're talking about ghost guns, which is a particular type of firearm in the state of Illinois. And I'm not seeing anything on ghost hunting or paranormal investigator. So if you can kind of give me an insight as to where I can go to read about this, because like I said, I know that myself, I'm very interested in this topic, and I know a lot of viewers are going to be interested in this topic, and I'd really like to kind of touch base on it.
Okay. And Eldon, just like with you, I went looking for that also to see if it's on the agenda, and it's not on there yet. It's not on there.
Why would it not be on the agenda? I know that the Illinois legislation, that's law. They have to put that there. That's not something that's, so it's going to be somewhere. If they're talking about this and going to be putting it in legislation, it's going to be there somewhere. That's law.
Eventually, I believe, eventually it will. My thinking is that it's not in stone yet. You know what I mean? It's not.
No, I don't know exactly where you're going with that. What do you mean, not in stone?
No, okay. It's not in stone whether or not they're going to regulate us, right? But it's just the fact they want to talk about it. Okay. So we'll just have to see where that goes.
Okay, so what you're saying is it's not a for sure thing.
It's not a done deal. It's not a done deal.
It's just you're going to be in talks about it.
Right. Right. So we'll just have to go from there.
So we don't know what kind of regulation. I think discussing regulation and possible licensing fees and all that is probably way premature if we're not even in the talking stages of this shit thing yet. Correct?
Right. Right. So I don't know where this is going to go. I don't. I'm supposed to be there in April, right? The third week in April, right? Well, they could send me a letter next week saying, no, we canceled it. We're not doing it this legislation time. You know what I mean? So they could do that. So I'll just have to wait and see. But I have
out.
Yeah. So, but anyhow, but you know what? I have other things to do in my life, just not to just wait for the state of Illinois. So this very moment, we can do what we want to do paranormally and such like that, and so that's good. In the first place, I think it's going to be awfully hard to regulate it. It's going to be difficult at best.
Well, like I said, if you regulate the paranormal field, they're forcing the scientific field to recognize us. It's just straightforward. Let's just call it for what it is. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And the scientific field doesn't want to recognize us for what we do. And I can promise you, when legislation tries to start regulating us, they're not going to just get pushed back from us. They're getting pushed back from the scientific field. And good luck with that. You know what I mean?
Right. And so anyhow, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. It may go someplace. It may not go anyplace.
Mm-hmm.
And so I could be just in this committee and talk for 3 days with these other people, and maybe it will die on the vine. I don't know. I don't. But it's just a fact that our local representative, who's a good friend of mine, and she knows I'm a medium and in the field and stuff like that, right? So she's the one who reached out to me and had given my name to the Speaker of the House, and that's how he has heard of me. Okay. So we'll just have to go from there, So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens. So it's just on my agenda for the spring. But again, my brothers and sisters, they could cancel at the very last 3 days beforehand, a day beforehand. You know what I mean? So we'll just.
They're the government. They can pretty much do what they want these days.
Mm-hmm. So that's things that I am going to be doing if they follow through with that. Okay, but the volunteerism is very close to my heart. It really is, and to help our brothers and sisters in need, our Native American brothers and sisters, or our brothers and sisters in the Appalachian Mountains. It's very, very important to me. And again, it's not all about me. It's not. But I just believe that I was created to help our brothers and sisters in need. So when I get the call, I go. That's just who I am. And like last January, until the third week or the last week in May, I was in New Mexico, and I was on a Navajo Nation's reservation, and I was volunteering in a homeless shelter and soup kitchen. And granted, there were Zunis, Navajo, there were also Apache and such like that, right? And so I got to meet so many interesting people, and you're quite correct, Eldon, about the skinwalkers. And then on Thursdays, we had our day off, right? And anyhow, so I met some wonderful Navajo shamans and Hopi shamans. And so they would take me horseback riding with them, and we would go clear up into the mountains. I saw black bear, I saw moose, I saw bobcats, all sorts of things. And that's when they opened Navajo. Daniel and Matthew, that's their names, were telling me about the skinwalkers. That was just incredible to me. And I know, Eldon, I think I sent you a picture of me standing in front of Window Rock, Arizona.
Yeah, I've got it myself. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. Anyhow, that is one of the holiest and sacred places in the Navajo tradition.
That's one of them. Yeah, it's one of their more predominant locations, but it's just one of many. Yeah.
And I was so honored. They usually don't want white folks, non-Native Americans, to go there, or at least go inside. They call it the window to the universe. And so I was allowed to do that. And
well, non-members can go there, but there are locations that non-members can go only on invite. There are very, very few in this nation that people can't go without an invite. I mean,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, let's face it, we're 2022 now. We're not living back in the 1800s anymore.
Right.
I mean, like I said, I've been to Pine Ridge Reservation. I've been to the San Carlos Reservation here in Arizona, the Navajo Reservation up north, the White Mountain Reservation. My lady, she's Native, and I can tell you, they're not the primitive living lifestyle that most would like to believe. They are civilized and they're good people, and
oh my God,
it's just, they don't have those restrictions like they used to have years and years ago.
One of the reasons, and I asked Daniel and Matthew, I said, why am I being allowed to do this? And they said, because of my volunteerism and helping the Navajo and Hopi people. And I was quite humbled to do that. And to go into the window to the universe, as they tell me that's what it's called, or they call it that. But just being there and experiencing this, it was incredible. It was unbelievable. They said, Robert, close your eyes and open your mind. And what I sensed and what I felt was incredible. I could hear the beating of drums. I could smell the smoke. I heard people screaming, laughing, every emotion. It was incredible. I thought I was there for an hour or so, but I was just there for maybe 5 minutes at the most. And I was so blessed, so very, very blessed to be there. And then after that, we went to a sweat lodge. I've been to seven sweat lodges. And one time we smoked peyote. And another time it was peyote button and such. And so I experienced so very, very much there while I was there. And what I saw, what I experienced, I will never forget. It was wonderful. It was wonderful.
Yeah. You got any questions there for Robert, Brian?
No, it's not as regular. I just think it's phenomenal, that you definitely get all these invites to these very sacred places. It's just phenomenal. How does one go about doing that?
But just the fact that I believe that God, or the universe, if you will, puts us where we need to be at any given time. And so I really believe that. I don't believe in coincidences. I don't believe in luck. You know what I mean? I was supposed to experience when I did. And I'm so very, very, very grateful. It opened my mind. Granted, you can read about, and Eldon, you know this, that you can read about the history of the Native Americans here in a book. It doesn't even come close, really. It doesn't. Not at all. But just to sit around a campfire with them and their families and they talk about the old traditions.
Most stories you hear, you've got the Anglo stories and you got the Native stories, and they'll never match. I don't care what you do. You're not going to get them to match up. That's just the way it is. When you take the Custer's Last Stand, or what we know as being the Battle at Little Bighorn, you take the Anglos. First of all, nobody survived that as far as the Anglos go, but yet we have an Anglo side of the story. How is that?
Right.
When none of the whites survived that particular battle, but yet you have the white side of the story. How did they get that? Well, they got it from natives and added their twist to it. Now, I'm sorry, I'm not anti-Anglo, but that's facts.
It is
what it is. You're never going to have it matching, and that's I don't know if it's maybe, the Anglos are a little embarrassed at what they've done. I mean, I would be if I were them as well. I'd be a little embarrassed,
Yeah.
to have treated people that way. But nevertheless, at the end of the day, honestly, you're not going to change the stories. They're going to be different no matter who you talk to.
Guys, unfortunately, I have to end this podcast early as I have to get up at 4:30 in the morning to start my new job, and all that good stuff. But Robert, it was fantastic.
You couldn't get out.
True that. I remember that quite well.
We appreciate you coming on, my man, and good to see you, buddy.
Take care, Brian.
You too.
All right, Brian, I guess let's end this thing. What do you think? Well, I think I would really like to see some of that documentation, some of the information on that case in Illinois. I think our paranormal brothers and sisters actually have a right to seeing what's going on there, and they should have a voice as well. And I would really like for Robert to bring that forward and to show that as to where that's standing, because I know I'm interested to beat hell on it, and I know that everybody else would be too. So I'm interested, and if I can get that from him, whether he's on our podcast or not, I'll definitely be sharing that with our podcast and keeping our viewers updated. That's for sure. I'm also going to be watching in Illinois too to see what's going on with that. So I've got a few ins and outs up there still. Being from Illinois myself, I still got a couple, supporting contacts I can get up there as well. So maybe I can get some insight that way. But anyway, I'm going to end this thing. So you want to take control of that, my friend?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, just a couple of things to say before we go. This broadcast is sponsored by the following two people. If you're a paranormal and investigator and you're thirsty, go get yourself a Ghost energy drink.
Yummy.
Also, if you're looking for paranormal equipment at a reasonable price and want custom-made equipment, go see D's Ghost at dsghost.com. His name is Jesse, and put your order in today.
And also, if you want a drama-free platform, where do you go, Brian? Where do you go? Come on. Tell us where we go.
Man. Well, that's obvious, man. You go to Parapost Network, dude. You go to your Google Play Store. You download the app because it's on Android, it's on Apple, laptops, and computers. And what else am I forgetting if you don't want the app, brother?
Hey, you can go to the website, theparapost.net, man. You can download that thing right on your computer and have it, at your favorites and quick button there and go right onto it, bro.
Exactly. So if you want a Facebook-like atmosphere, drama-free, go to Parapost Network, download the app on Google Play, or just hit parapostnetwork.net, and there you go.
All right, folks.
I think that's all I wanted to promote a little bit.
Anything else, Brian? You good?
Well, I really don't know, Eldon. Are you good?
Hey, I'm good. Just stick around and watch the ending. Here we go.